All right, peeps. Yep. We're here. We're here. Took us long enough, but we're here. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right. Let me see here. Just gonna get this stuff rolling. Get this stuff rolling on Twitter. All right. All right, peeps. So we got another French wine today. We got some Beaujolais. This is gonna be fun. We're gonna be doing Beaujolais. I might mix it up, but it's probably better for learning if we keep it consistent. So I'll try to do that. Although France is so big, it's kind of fun for me to jump around it so that I feel like we're still staying in France, but um, I'm not drinking the same stuff over and over again. Anyway, we're doing basics first here. Basics first, Beaujolais and Beaujolais Village, and then we're gonna have two tastings, maybe three, with the Cru Beaujolais. So just a little brief thing on Beaujolais. Beaujolais is sometimes considered to be part of Burgundy, but really it's not. It's kind of considered to be maybe in the broader Burgundy region, but the reality is that the climate in Beaujolais is much hotter than it is in Burgundy. Burgundy is quite cool, and Beaujolais, while it can get some snow, right, in the mountains, the Central Massif nearby, frankly, in the summer it's quite hot, and they don't have any problem ripening grapes in Beaujolais. Also, the grape in Beaujolais versus Burgundy is not Pinot Noir, it's Gamay. Now, Gamay is pretty much exclusive to Beaujolais, although you do also see it in the Loire Valley as a lesser player underneath Cabernet Franc and sometimes Malbec as well. I think they call it Cote up there, which is weird, like COT. It's strange. Anyway, so Beaujolais is one of the more popular wines out there, and there's one type of Beaujolais which I don't have on me. I actually had it the other week though, Beaujolais Nouveau, and Beaujolais Nouveau is basically it's what we would call it's young wine, right? Young Beaujolais, new Beaujolais. Beaujolais Nouveau is supposed to be drunk. It's released right after Thanksgiving, and it's supposed to be drunk by Easter. That's kind of the rule with it. Now in practice, you'll see some bargain sale Beaujolais Nouveaux, maybe a year or so after. They can stand up depending, but traditionally you drink it over the 6 month period because it was not made at all. It was literally right out the barrel into the bottle. And so, historically, when you'd have a lot of cultures would have wine festivals, the wine festivals would be in this 6 month period because by the time you have harvest, the wine is fresh, it's delicious. You have throughout the winter, you can keep it cool, it doesn't oxidize too much, but then as you get into spring and summer and the heat comes on, the wine would start to deteriorate. So you'd see a lot of these festivals are going to be in late fall through early spring, not in the heat of summer. Okay. Back in the old days, they'd have to put like pine resin and all sorts of crap in the wine just to keep it from completely deteriorating. So, but we don't have Beaujolais Nouveau. Beaujolais Nouveau is kind of a big gimmick. I remember it more growing up. It's less popular now than it used to be. We have regular Beaujolais and Beaujolais Village. Now, the difference between the two is that Beaujolais Village is supposedly slightly better. We're going to try this out right now and see if there really is much of a difference. The reason for that is standard Beaujolais, which is over half the production, is mostly in the southern portion, very flat ground, and Beaujolais Village is in the northern portion, which is hilly. And the best of Beaujolais Village are these Beaujolais Crus, which we'll try on a different occasion. So I'll show you on the map real quick so you understand. So this is Beaujolais. So you have the Saône River here, right? And you can see on the map where we are, this purple area, Dijon, and up here, that is where the Burgundy is. So you can see Burgundy would be right north of here. Okay. So I've been to Beaujolais. It's very pretty. It's very pretty, and they have a lot of different soil there. Granite's quite common, but there's a lot of mix up in the area, just like across all of France. France has very diverse geology. It's the most geologically diverse country in the world, which is part of the reason why it produces the best wine. So you have Beaujolais down here in the south, and then you have right here in the teal, you have Beaujolais Village. The purple ones being the very special locations. So we're gonna try this. This is a 2020 Celine. I'll let you know how it goes. Oh, here, by the way, here are the two. So we have a Domaine Pignard Beaujolais and a Pardon et Fil Beaujolais Village. It's not. Both of these are standard brands. Nothing too special or unique. So, okay, so this is interesting. You have the lightness with the regular Beaujolais, like you tend to always have of Gamay. It's a common thing. Gamay, by the way, is a very light and fruity grape. So that's why people love Beaujolais Nouveau. It's just a really easy drinking grape. You know, but it doesn't have the sophistication of Pinot Noir. So it's similar body to Pinot Noir. Maybe it can get a little heavier. Maybe it's a slightly darker, but it's similar to Pinot Noir. And it's, if you were to categorize wine, it's not super high tannin, but it's not insignificant tannin. It's got a little bit more tannin than Pinot maybe. So trying the standard Beaujolais, this is stupid way to describe it, but it's straight up red wine. And when I say that, it's like it's European table wine. That's what this reminds me of. You got a little, yeah, you got standard red fruit, very difficult differentiation going on here. It's a little rougher than a lot of Beaujolais are. A lot of Beaujolais are much brighter than this one. But this is standard Beaujolais, and to be honest, most people here do not have standard Beaujolais. What they have is Beaujolais Village. I haven't really had Beaujolais too much because it's not exported as much. For whatever reason. Personally, I don't think people here would know the difference in the branding. Jackson, it's good to see you. Let's try the Beaujolais Village here. So it smells slightly more bright on the nose, but we're really talking about here is what's the flavor. Okay, substantially better. There's no question, substantially better. The Beaujolais is inoffensive. It's absolutely inoffensive. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just straight red wine. That's all it is. But Beaujolais Village here, this has what I usually look for in a Beaujolais. A lot brighter on the palate, some white pepper on the back. And the body's more smooth. The Beaujolais was a little bit harsh on the back. The Beaujolais Village, much more smooth. When you get into the cruise, as we'll see, the Beaujolais cruise, you start to get more and more complex flavors. You get more meaty flavors. And I actually recommend to people when it comes to looking for red wines, if you're looking for an affordable red wine, but not something that's going to be kind of like impressive to people though, Beaujolais Crus are great. And I'll go more into that when we have the episode on Beaujolais Cru. But they can bring quite a bit of complexity for a pretty solid price. I mean, Beaujolais Crus will almost never go into $30. They're mostly in the 20-something dollar range. Low 20s usually is where you'll find a Beaujolais Cru, which is a pretty big steal compared to Burgundy. So, yeah, I'm just going to hit this one again because that was really nice. Yeah, this is like red currants, blueberries even. It's just so bright. It's almost like a fruit salad with that little pepper on the back. Ben, my sweater is from Banana Republic. It's an old sweater. And but Banana Republic, it's recently kind of shitty. It's pretty shitty these days. Everything's I won't say it, but it's I don't really feel like I feel like it's lost increasingly its masculinity, so to speak. But 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even, it was moving in that direction maybe 5 years ago, but it was, the clothes are just really high quality. I think they always thought they looked good. They lasted a long period of time, but going forward, I'm gonna be my focus is on maybe trying to buy some even nicer stuff. Okay, you got the same one. Yeah, yeah. I like BR in the past, but anyway. And Celine, thank you. Yeah, I guys got 1K now on YouTube. I appreciate it from all of you guys. We're just gonna keep pushing it, gonna keep moving up, and I'm gonna keep trying to do this stuff more frequently. I feel like I feel bad about disappointing you guys sometimes. If only you knew just how much work is going on here, and I sometimes overpromise with the shows because I want to do them, and then I'm exhausted or I haven't seen my family. Some work emergency comes up sometimes, and it's just it gets kicked down. But we're rolling now, so let's get to the meat and potatoes of the show. Property Prince is here. I still have the Tinginello Property Prince. I'm saving it. I'm saving it for you know what. You know what I'm saving it for. I won't talk about that on this show. Okay. So the first thing I wanted to talk about before I get into the questions is I wanted to talk just a little bit about coaching and growth. Okay. And sort of the role of coaching and growth. One of the things that you're seeing a lot recently is you're seeing a lot of um, coaching cults, so to speak. So you have people and they follow a guru, and it's all about the guru. What does the guru tell me to do? Right? I want to do what they tell me to do. Guys who have a problem, they're looking to the coach, they're looking to this guru to tell them how they can improve themselves. And I want to try to put coaching for a moment in its proper context here. Coaching on a low level becomes like an authority figure thing. So you have situations where guys will look to the coach, look to the guru, and externalize their thinking. And this is a problem we see in society at large, of course, today as well. The proper place for a coach is actually not like that at all. The proper place for a coach is as a guide for a period of a journey. So, for instance, one of my clients is a very, very intelligent guy, and just really enjoyed our conversations when we were working together. And he made some incredible gains over the time. I mean, we went deep. I mean, to the extent that probably half the time we were talking, I would be like writing just because he was bringing out some really good stuff in me, and he'd make some good points. And some of the emails that we've even had have been, and some of these videos have been inspired by conversations that we had because he'd really asked these piercing questions. Anyway, we made a huge amount of progress. We worked together for 15 months. He still had a couple hours left in his contract, but we agreed he wanted to end it at the end of the year. And the reason he wanted to end it at the end of the year was because he didn't need it anymore. I had another client similar to this. We had been working together for similar period. Overall, I mean, there had been some stops, and he had some time left, similar amount of time, like a few hours maybe, and he wanted to end it as well at the end of the year. And their reasons were simple. They were doing well, and even though they had, more time that they could use, they just didn't need it. They had extracted what they needed from coaching with me. And the problem is that a lot of coaches take this kind of stuff personally. They there's a whole thing with business models and coaching about trying to keep retention for clients for as long as possible. So it's like the subscription model, just keep them coming, keep them coming, keep them coming. I've never related to this, and it has been difficult in my time doing business to find mentors on a business front, because so much of the way it works if you're trying to expand your business is how do you extract, like, what is the what is the price per customer, right? How much money can you get per customer? How long can you keep a customer around and they keep having these upsells, keep people in the loop, keep people in your orbit? And I really don't like it. Don't like it. I have an aversion towards it personally. I want guys to move on from me. And I think every coach should want guys to move on from them, because if you don't let them move on from you, if you keep trying to get them to stay with you, then what are you doing? I mean, are you really being a good coach? You gotta push the baby out of the nest, so to speak, right? You gotta do the work, exactly. You gotta push them out of the nest, though. You gotta let them. There's a point, and guys will recognize it, where they need to go off on their own. Now, sometimes they have really extracted everything they need from you. It's applicable at this point to say, "Hey, this was amazing. I appreciate it, and it's okay to end." This is the big thing. People have a hard time with endings. Like, they just can't allow endings. In the modern era, no one likes endings. You look at a TV series. The TV series has to keep going on indefinitely. You can't allow it to end. You can't allow a story to end, a relationship to end. And that's because of anxiety. And it's pathetic, sad, um, encouraged obviously for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, these guys be coaching like they're big pharma. Jackson, what a comment. That's so on point, right? Sick care. No, because it's like people's pain is something to be profited off of. Well, there's a lot of people in pain. Why I would rather help somebody, heal somebody, and then have them tell other people that it works, you know? And then, hell, maybe we get to the point in my lifetime where people don't need help anymore. And then we would really have a great society, and I wouldn't have to worry so much about money because everything would be great. So why would I care? Right? Why would I care? But the point here is that you have to honor endings. Honor endings. Allow people to move on from you. Now, look, sometimes it's not a matter of, the converse is that you have to know the context. Maybe a client wants to move on, but maybe he's still got work to do. You can offer it, but maybe he needs a break in the meantime. I mean, that happens too. And I think it's important to give clients the spacing. Anyway, the point of this stuff, I mean, obviously, subtle pitch, you can work with me, haha. But I want people to be able to honor endings, allow things to end, allow a relationship to end when it's run its course. You don't have to squeeze the juice out of everything, because it just wastes people's time and energy, and it doesn't serve you. And it's disempowering, frankly. It's disempowering. So know when you're ready to go. And if you're somebody who mentors or coaches others, know when to let them go. So check some of these comments here. My biggest issue with a lot of dating gurus is, for the most part, they paint all women as evil. A lot of these dating gurus are just trapped in trauma loops. They haven't really fixed anything. It's kind of like nothing's healed. They're just trying to find ways not to walk on the broken limb. It's basically what it is. I mean, they're stupid. They're stupid. But a lot of people are stupid. But let's be honest here. How many guys really want to help themselves? How many people really want to help themselves? I mean, it's not that big. And so, for a lot of people in these communities, they're not really looking for improvement. What they're looking for is sympathy. And look, I understand. I mean, some girl screws you over, or you never really got what you wanted from women. Like, I get it. Like, you want somebody to acknowledge your pain. I acknowledge your pain. I understand that. But I mean, at the end of the day, do you want to change things, or do you want to complain? Do you want somebody to? It's the same thing. What Jackson just said here. They'd be coaching like they're big pharma. I mean, they'd prefer to keep these guys on a pill. Hey, what kind of pills are you guys taking? Right? Are you taking the red pill? Yeah, they prefer to keep people on a steady dose of red pills out of the frying pan into the fire, rather than actually set them free and let them be healthy. You should be taking, the pill you should be taking is your pill. You. That's how you navigate your life ultimately. It's you. What do you want to do? The purpose of all growth is to decide, not even really simply to decide, but to uncover what it is you want and to give yourself permission to go after it. Otherwise, you're living somebody else's life, and that's not growth. You could be a rich as fuck motherfucker. I mean, seriously, you could have a Lambo. You could get all the the hot girls around you. If you don't want this, if you got this because you felt that was what you were supposed to do to be a man, then you're going to be unhappy. It's just the way it is. Now, some guys maybe really do want that. Maybe. Won't get into that, but maybe they do. But most don't. Most don't really. It could be a fun phase maybe to prove to themselves that they got it, but it's not what brings them real fulfillment. What gives everyone real fulfillment is building. It's mentoring as a man, right? It's building, mentoring, it's expansion. That's what gives men purpose. That's what gives men meaning. It's not acquisition. It's the process of it. So, and that's why, you should be able to be generous and give things away. Anyway, I don't want to go off on tangents. Let's keep going down these things. I don't know Dr. Richard Cooper, but I'm going to check that out. Can I like The Sopranos? I haven't checked The Sopranos out either. I know it's embarrassing. I should be watching The Sopranos. One of the best shows on TV. I watched The Wire, except for the last 2 episodes. Something came up. I never finished it. But that's kind of, speaking of honoring endings, right? My way of making sure it doesn't end is just to never finish the ending. Gotta take my own advice. Let's see here. With the rise of the red pill, a lot of guys, because I'm a woman, they don't know how to categorize a good woman. No, they don't. So what they do is they just accuse you of deceiving them. So they just say it's not really true and that you would if you could, which is actually really projection on their end, because bad people have a very hard time believing other people aren't bad either, which is why I've never sat well with me, and I understand the esoterics of it at this point, but never sat well with me this crap like everybody's evil. You would do it too if you were in that position. No, I wouldn't. Go fuck yourself. No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do it. People who are unconscious do things, but you will never see me. And by the way, we've had plenty of tests this year to see who would and who wouldn't. I would never be a death camp guard. I'd never participate in that shit. Never. Maybe you would, but I wouldn't, because I'm aware of myself. Now, if I had been completely unaware of myself, then maybe I might. If I was completely in the propaganda and had no idea of who I was, then maybe I would follow the crowd off a cliff. I'm not. But don't project that bullshit. These red pill guys projecting all women are like that. All men are like that then. You can't have it both ways, right? So what are all men? Are all men like you? Well, I'm not like you. So there goes your logical argument. No, you are like me. No, you're beta. Okay. Okay, so not all men are like that. But all women are? I mean, they're just fucking idiots at the end of the day. Why waste more energy on them? They're just stupid. Low IQ. I mean, seriously, some of these guys are legitimately low IQ. I remember interacting with Rianne Stone. I mean, this guy could barely write a coherent sentence. It was like probably the best person who bested me the most in arguments, because he didn't even know what he was communicating. So like you'd respond to it and he wouldn't understand what you wrote. Like his reading comprehension was like, it was like he hadn't graduated middle school in a low tier school. I mean, it was like going to the DMV. Talking to Rianne Stone is like talking to someone at the DMV. I mean, it's pretty abysmal. But hey, you got to find your gurus. And if you try to break out, they're going to keep you trapped in there. All right, let's see here. Celine, a lot of dating advice seems to rest on manipulation as a means to an end. It's pretty nihilistic. Yeah, it's black magic. What people don't understand is that there's really 2 flavors of it. There's black magic and white magic, and all things all things. You don't like the term magic, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to think of it in those terms, but it is. It's an energy. It's how do you manifest something? Everything can be manifested in two ways. You can either manifest based on intrinsic goodness, drawing in from alignment, or you can manifest based on parasitism and to take away from somebody else and taking their energy to create something. We were talking about on Twitter recently about movies, Saw, Black Mirror, and TV shows, right? Saw, Black Mirror, Euphoria, Squid Games. I mean, I have told people, I've tried to warn them not to watch this stuff. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. It's designed to take your energy and use it in a way that will manifest somebody else's agenda. They're parasiting off of your energy. Porn's similar, right? But your energy is being taken, it's being used for somebody else. In your life, energy vampires are people who do not like to do anything. They can't do anything themselves, but they hate if you can do things. Nevertheless, they hate it, but they need it. And so they will go after you. They'll either attack you or they'll become dependent on you, which, of course, if you don't let them be dependent on you, then they attack you. It's always two sides of the same coin. So what they're doing is they can't generate their own energy, so they're trying to take it from you. It's a common thing in relationships. So if you're of the mindset that only this black magic of parasiting works, then you are going to follow what a lot of these red pill gurus tell you to do, because they will. What they're indicating to you is that you can only get a woman if you're the one who's taking from her. Women take from you. As a man, women take from you. So therefore, you need to take from women. That's the game they play. But actually, you don't have to take from women, and women don't have to take from you. It's not zero sum. There's another way. It's what I teach with clients. It's what saved a lot of relationships. Hell, it saved my relationship. I know this stuff so well because I've gone through it. There's not a single thing I parrot that I haven't moved through in some way myself. All right. Coaching is an art and a science. It's a science in the sense that you need to take observations, you need to analyze them, you need to figure out patterns, you need to put things together, you need to be able to break it down for people coherently. But it's an art, because if you don't live it, you're worthless. There's nothing worse than the people who sit on Twitter all day and who spout out theory. If you have not gone through it, if you have not experienced it, if you can't feel yourself into it and put yourself on the edge, artists are on the edge of human experience. The good artists are on the edge of human experience, always. And they draw that out, and they draw it out as meaning for the rest of us. If you're a coach, you have to be doing that. None of this bullshit like you have no life experience. If you have no life experience, go take a bunch of risks and fail a couple of times, and then you can come back and coach. Any coach who hasn't failed is a fucking worthless piece of shit. And I'll say that directly. If you have not failed, you have no idea how to coach people. You're useless. You're useless. Go out and fail. Go out and take some risks and think about what happened to you when you took those risks. And then maybe you'll grow as a person. Then you can actually coach people. But if you stay in your mother's basement all day long, you're not going to learn anything. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Is there a single best place to meet tier 1, tier 2 women? I'm 24, by the way. Okay, common misconception. Tier 1, tier 2 is relative. It is not defining the quality of a woman. It's defining the nature of a dynamic. So, for instance, a tier 1 woman for me, my wife, is not going to be a tier 1 woman for you. It's just not gonna be. Better not be. It's not going to be, though. I mean, tier 1 is a very rare thing. if in the absolute most extreme situation, you'll meet tier 1 girls a year. It's not that you won't meet more than 2 quality women in a year. You could have a whole circle of women who are quality women if you are in the right demographics. The issue is, what is your connection with them? So the tiers of women, tier 5 is purely transactional. I mean, tier 5 is, you guys are at a club, usually there's drugs involved, maybe it's even money exchanged, really. I mean, if we're being honest here, it's super, super transactional. You know barely anything about the other person except they're attractive, they're there, and you want sex. And so that's what happens. Tier 4 is a step above that, and that's where most of classic game and pickup stuff lies, where you'll have to go talk to a girl, approach a girl, generate some level of attraction and familiarity. It's still pretty transactional. It's probably going to be a one night stand. But the point of it is that there's a little bit more of you knowing each other involved in the sex happening. That progresses to tier 3, which is situational and kind of casual in group. So that could be a fuck buddy. If you're a guy who is, well respected and trusted in his group, and also attractive to the women, you have a lot of female friends. If one of your female friends is going through a breakup, she may want to hook up with you. That would be a tier 3. There's comfort, and there's attraction there, and there's trust, but there's no real sense that there's anything deeper. But there's enough trust that you could feel comfortable. There's a level of intimacy there. I think trust is more than intimacy, but there's a level of it there. But there's still, this is like the bridge point, because you start to get some intimacy, but it's still, it's contextual. Hey, we're only doing it because of this circumstance. You're on vacation, you meet a girl, you travel together, you're on the same kind of trip, so you have a little fling. Okay, trip's over, fling's done. You might like each other's posts on Instagram, but you guys are not going anywhere, and there was never any sense of it. And the only reason it ever happened is because there's a situation. You are there, right place, right time, and there's a situation for it. So yeah. Then you go to tier 2. Tier 2 is, you can probably meet a tier 2 girl once a month, generally. Tier 2 girls are girls, I'm speaking like, if you're maxing out stuff, probably once a month. Like tier 1, 1 to 2 times a year. Tier 2 maybe once a month, I think, is probably more realistic. And these are girls that you would see on an ongoing basis. There's a lot of intimacy. You guys will go on dates. It's People could mistake you guys for being in a relationship if they didn't know, depending, because you'll be very flirtatious, and yeah, you'll see each other. You'll go and do things outside of sex, outside of that stuff. But as a shelf life, and the reason is, you can't get to a certain level of intimacy with these types. You just can't. There's a barrier to intimacy, and you can't progress past it. Whether it's a values difference, you're going different places in life. Maybe there's just a piece of her personality you don't like, but you can compartmentalize when you're dating her, but you can't commit to her. Sometimes it's simply, unfortunately, that she's just not quite attractive enough, although I would argue that there's a combination of things usually going on with that. Anyway, that's a tier 2 girl. They usually last about 1 to 3 months, but it could perhaps last longer than that, depending. Then you have tier 1, and tier 1, again, this isn't about the quality of the girl. It's about the intensity of the dynamic. In a tier 1 dynamic, you can fall really hard for a girl. They can be unhealthy or healthy. That doesn't have any bearing on it. Doesn't have any bearing on any of these things. You could have a healthy casual hookup. I mean, it's not, I don't want to be misconstrued, but theoretically you could have one. right? Where it's just what both of you needed at that time, and that's okay. I don't want to encourage that stuff, but that does happen. That does happen. Um, a healthy tier one is going to go the distance or go for a long period of time at least. An unhealthy tier one might burn out quick after a few months, but there is a real sense that you're going to be with this person, a lot of infatuation. You really bury yourself to in a tier one, and when they leave, you feel like you've really lost something. So anyway, that's that system. All right, Ben, this is regarding the red pill guys. I've stopped trying to give them advice and now block or unfollow when I see a guy bitching about his dating life on the timeline without taking some fucking responsibility for getting good. Yep. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like if a girl isn't giving it up right away, they leave her because they are entitled to sex automatically, they think. Yeah. Well, the funny thing about that, Celine, is that these guys will say that stuff and, um, but yet then they complain that women give it up. And that's why they're just so stupid. They're so messed up. I mean, they can't even distinguish between the two things. They get angry and emotionally volatile. They get triggered when a girl won't give it up to them, but then they immediately, attack the girl when she does. And so I understand why a lot of women see those guys and they think they can't win. Like I get it. I get it. But the reality is that you just can't win with a guy like that. You'll never win with a guy like that. All right. Let's see. I watched Rebel Without a Cause on your recommendation, by the way. Very impactful for me. Felt like I was watching my grandfather, even though I never knew him. Yeah, it's a hell of a movie, and you understand why James Dean was so, why he was what he was as a figure. It really gets into the weakness, how a weakness in a father can affect a man, like a young boy of spirit. Just watch it. You'll understand what I'm talking about. Really one of my favorite movies when it comes to the consequences of depolarization in dynamics and emotional repression in relationship dynamics, and just how it causes rebellion and issues with the children. Okay, let's see here. When you're a good person, you tend to want to think everybody else is generally a good person. Yeah, people project themselves onto the world. Bad people will think everybody else is bad. Good people think everybody else is good. Wise people realize that there's a distinguishing factor, and you can, you know, as a good person, and this is one of the big things I do with coaching, you need to understand how evil works. And I actually meant to finish this thought. I teach people in their relationships how to heal themselves, how to heal the other partner, help facilitate it. But I teach them healing magic, so to speak, and I teach them defense against the dark arts. Like, you need to understand how manipulation and stuff works. And unfortunately, a lot of good people, they're asking unconsciously to get hurt. Like I was talking to a client the other day, and he was seeing this stuff in himself where, he's breaking things off with a girl and she kept kind of pushing him want to see him. And so he was going to go meet up with her, and he was thinking about going to meet up with her, and he had, but hooking up with a girl beforehand. So he'd go over there with all these hickeys and everything. And he didn't do this, but he was aware. He's like, where did that come from? Where did that impulse come from? And we were talking about it, and I told him, essentially, it's like, I mean, there's a couple things on a personal level. Where does it come from in you? But when somebody is that naive, there's a big impulse in you to like exercise power over them. This is the darker part within you, but because in large part it teaches them a lesson. So that individual, that girl, would have been crushed, but then she would have learned. And this is the whole thing of like him trying to tell, she was very naive. She's a good girl, very naive. We need to understand the dark arts so that we can deal with it within ourselves, but also protect ourselves against manipulation. Because if you don't know it, there are people out there, you hear these stories of guys who It's like she slept with my best friend, and then she did, and she did it in our bed, and she lied to me all these years, and the kids aren't mine. And I feel bad for these guys, but also, are you seriously, how do I put this? Are you seriously, like on a certain level you were asking for this? On a certain level, you didn't want to learn the truth about how people could be. You weren't willing to see the signs. And it is really a matter of will. I mean, people will tell themselves something isn't happening. And you could tell that guy, hey, your woman's cheating on you, and they'll attack you. They'll get pissed at you. They'll think you're bad because they're in denial. And so when someone's in denial, if you're trying to inform somebody, hey, this person's out to get you, and they're in denial about it, as a good person, what are you supposed to do? Well, there are some good people who would say you should go and stop them anyway. That's violating their free will. It doesn't help them to learn. If they want to have a contract with a bad person to get harmed, all I can do is offer assistance. I can't intercede because it would not be helpful for their spiritual growth. And frankly, it's not in my best interest. Denial is ego protection, but it's also, it's not just fear about getting humiliated. It's also a matter of them seeing, how do I put this? It's a matter of them, it means so much to them to have that person. Like, it's kind of like their reality is built on a lie. So you could say, is it ego protection? But it's not ego protection only in the sense of, like, I don't want to be wrong. It's that I don't know how to live if I'm wrong. And let me give you an example of this. I mean, with my first girlfriend, it was she's a great girl. There's nothing against her. Frankly, if anybody was a problem, it was me. Although we were young, and um, we were each other's first. When that relationship ended, because we were fighting and it was becoming more of a mess over time. When that relationship ended, the thing that I had just a hard time dealing with, I was in this shock, and it wasn't the fact that then she was gonna, start dating somebody else. It wasn't about that even. It was about, like, well, we were supposed to be together forever. Like, this is I was building an illusion for myself. So it was like, well, no matter how bad it is, it doesn't matter because this is my assumption. My assumption is that we're together forever. And so everything else, like, we'll just deal with it. And when that collapsed, that's what actually got me at 20 years old into, the dating community. Super grateful for it, obviously. But I didn't realize until that moment, until I saw the book, The Game in the bookstore, I didn't realize that I could take agency and I could create something real in my life. Now, I got burned in a subsequent relationship, but and I was in denial about certain things going on, but there wasn't the same level of earth shattering. Like, I knew at that point that I can recover, I can move on. There was just layers of it. Like, I didn't realize maybe that women were capable of certain things at that point, but I certainly understood that I could endure and that there were problems and I didn't have to stay with it because when I did become aware, then I left, right? So, Colty Broad, Jack Murphy, good example of a tier 1 relationship. Look, I've been hearing that rumor go around. Holy shit, if that was actually happening. I mean, they were both on Chatterbait. I don't know, man. It's too weird. It's too weird. Anyway, guys, if you have any other, I'm doing a show tomorrow. I'm gonna save the questions for that because I think we covered a lot. I think we covered a lot. Do you have any more questions in the chat? You can drop them real quick. Any more chat questions? And I'll hit them. Nope. No more chat questions. All right. I got another show right after this. Those of you who know, you know. So, yep. Right after this. I'll see you.